Now imagine a world without women, just men all over the place, and then animals. Wow, that would be like a world without sunshine.
Like
yeah, of course, but that's how it is. You know, now for me, women are the heart of every society, anyhow you look at it.
Indeed, and thank you for that. Well, it's the International Women's Day, and we here on TVC Breakfast celebrate the women folk out there who trudge on despite the odds against them to accomplish great things and yet still keep their homes.
Now, on this day, we are highlighting the challenges faced by the Nigerian woman or the African woman that she bears the brunt of the insurgency in the Northeast, like we just discussed. Abducted and forced to marry vicious men simply to stay alive. We've had the issue of Boko, the Chibok girls, even the Dapchi girls, and even others that we don't even know about.
Unreported cases, really, indeed. And then she still struggles for a place in politics and positions of power. She battles domestic violence in her home and faces serious challenges during and after childbirth. But it is not only tales of pity for women, as more and more women are gradually realizing their strength and fighting for their rights. They are leaving footprints in the field of technology, medicine, agriculture, politics, journalism, many others, of course, to mention a few. Well, congratulations to the women out there, as together we will continue to press for progress, and that is the theme for this year, press for progress. Build on the gains made so far when it comes to empowering women. Mike.
Okay, now with us in the studio is an activist and social commentator, Habiba Balogun. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Nice to
Happy
see you.
International Women's
Happy
Day.
International Women's
Happy
Day.
International Women's Day. It's good to know,
Yeah.
and it's really good the day is here. Now, let us get into the nitty-gritty. Now, when we talk about women, there's a lot of championing for women in politics, in technology, in education, in every aspect of life right now. But the West, as we have it, and Africa, two different polarized societies. We have our cultures here, we have our religion that has so much influence on all of us. But in true terms, is Africa and then Nigeria as a focal point ready to give that emancipation to women?
Wow. Well, I would say right now we have to say no.
Okay.
Okay, because the African continent, when they say, you know, there's a gender gap. So the gender gap covers pay, it covers health, it covers education, it covers economic participation, work.
Absolutely.
You know, it covers survival. So gender gap for Africa is very, very wide, much wider than most of the Western world. And Nigeria, we're doing quite poorly. We're number 122 out of 144.
Wow.
So it doesn't appear that way because in Nigeria, of course, we see many women working, okay? But the majority of women are rural and they're not working. Or if they're working, they're not getting paid for their work, they're not earning. And majority of girls are getting married before age 15. And 90% of those ones who get married before age 15 are illiterate. They never, you know, so we're not ready yet. We're not ready yet.
And talking about not being ready, and then would you blame the government for that, or some religious beliefs, or
maybe cultural.
traditional beliefs, or even cultural beliefs, really? What is standing in the way of the woman rising above board and then, you know, standing shoulder to shoulder with a fellow woman, maybe in the West?
Yeah. I honestly, I don't know what it is. Because, you know, you say International Women's Day, people think about women. But you are a man, you are the son of a woman. Okay? So if women are doing well, all the men are also doing well. I'm not sure I can say I can blame the government, but it's government's responsibility to redress the situation. It's a whole load of things. Lack of understanding that whereas in ancient African societies, both men and women used to work, but they used to do different work. Now, only the men want to work, they want to put the women down, and they have just crippled our economy, they've crippled our families, they've crippled our communities, that they don't understand that that is the result of what they have done. So government has responsibility to educate, to legislate, so that the women who realize their rights can go ahead and enforce them if there's no law. Like, it's only recent, I think it's 2 years ago, that in one of the eastern states, they allowed girls to inherit from their father.
Absolutely.
In the 21st century.
Age-old tradition.
So it's a combination of culture, religion, and so on. I don't want to say it's government's fault, but it's government's responsibility.
All right, Rwanda is a very notable case. You have been there, you've interacted with some of the legislature women and all of that. Now, Rwanda is becoming an exemplary or a role model, a model country where women are given more responsibility and all of that. Keep that aside and come back to Nigeria. Is it necessarily about the government opening the space to say, let us deliberately give this space or this slot or this appointment to women, or it is women by themselves who have the knowledge, who have the ability, who have the capacity, who have the enlightenment to come up and say, I have the ability to take this and I am going to take it?
Okay, so let me ask you a question. So if you want to start an engineering business, you know that you need an engineer. You know you need an accountant. You know you need all those things. Nigerian government and many African governments don't know what they need to have a developed country. You want a developed country, you need your women to be participating. Look at any developed country in the world. Without female participation, they would not be developed. In fact, they've identified that that is the main indicator, leading indicator. If you're a developed country, it's because your women are participating. So as African countries, we have to realize that we need them. So you can't have an executive committee or without an executive council with no woman and expect to be making good decisions. Because women have a lot of power. They have a lot of power. Think about it. Even an illiterate woman in the home has a lot of power about what happens in that home. Where chop money, household expenses, where that money is spent, whether their children can go to school or not.
True.
Yes, some men, women have a lot of power, and then you are not educating them, you're not exposing them, you're not involving them in helping you make decisions that both men and women can abide with. So there's no wisdom.
Even on the men.
Oh yes, of course. Of course, it impacts on, as I said, there is no man that wasn't born from a woman.
Okay.
So,
however,
and he's influenced by the sort of woman his mother is.
And every woman is the daughter of a man too somehow, answering a man's name.
Absolutely.
I like that. I like the way you change it.
All right. Now,
That's just by the way.
We had a farmer here. I think it was last week or 2 weeks ago, and then he was talking about the gains made in the agriculture sector, and he said, if Nigeria is serious about agriculture and wants to make so much gains that in fact it would abandon it's dependent on oil, that women have to be encouraged to go into agriculture because they are more focused. But then when you hear statements accredited to some of the leaders of the country, are you encouraged as a woman? Even the president at one point said the wife belonged to the other room. And then a lawmaker, national lawmaker, just months ago, last year, said the only way we can help Nigerian women is to marry more wives. So hearing that from those that are supposed to know better, that are leading the country, are you encouraged as a woman to want to reach your potential when you're talking about being given a chance or even being supported, really?
Well, I mean, I think it's gotten to the point where it's not about being encouraged or not. As women now, as mothers, as wives, as workers, we are not happy with the direction we are seeing our country going into. It's affecting us. Okay, let's even say I'm a housewife. My husband is earning less money or he's lost his job. It's affecting me. So I'm glad you said people who should know better. The reason why women have to be in agriculture is because the majority of workers in agriculture are women. But they are illiterate women, so they don't know how to increase the yield. They don't know how to preserve. They don't know how to do all those things that could really transform agriculture just like that. Through education, not through extra machines, extra fertilizer. Of course, all those things will have an impact. But if you just influence and have an impact to the woman agricultural worker on her own, it will have a tremendous...
About the basics.
Just the basics. Just about the basics. So people are saying the truth. Nigerian women work, but they are not earning. Nigerian women work and they're not earning. Canada has already estimated that every housewife, if you calculate how much a man would have to pay an employee to do the things that his wife does, it's about $35,000 per annum. Okay, so a woman is doing the equivalent, I don't know how much that is in Naira, of $35,000 work per annum, okay, in the home. She's not earning 1 kobo for it. So when she's not earning her own money, she cannot make decisions, she cannot help her children, she can't even help her husband, support her husband, her community, you know, and it has a ripple effect, so many multiplier effects.
All right, now if we bring it back home here to Nigeria, there seems to be a clash between the genders, men, women, especially on the home front where we have high rates of divorce, sometimes because it seems like the women are becoming too enlightened and they're becoming confrontational to the men and all of that. Is there some misapplication of the knowledge and the enlightenment of what women should be in the home front, really?
Yeah, I think that that clash, I think it's manufactured.
Okay.
Okay, so let's use modern marriages. Many modern marriages, the men are marrying women for who is their father, who is their mother, who can help me, okay? The women are marrying men made man, but we know in Nigeria today, you know how much you have to earn to be able to stand alone and give your family a certain standard of living. And so they go in with false expectations, okay? And then the woman was educated to work, let's say in some cases, and her husband is now saying, no, I want to control you. And she said, but I have a brain, you can't control me, we are supposed to be partners. So I think it's again about education, about communicating, and we need all the religious organizations and the cultural organizations to help people prepare properly for marriage and help them know that marriage is not easy. There's going to be conflict. You have to be prepared to negotiate and compromise and work your way through it and make sure you go in for the right reasons and not expect a woman to tolerate being battered or being abused and just stay there because being a wife is more important than anything else. And not to expect a man whose wife is working and earning more than him just to be suffering and not expect any support from his wife. And because you are earning does not mean that there's no respect in the home. So that goes to, they say the bragado, okay, they're complaining about that. But the ego, but I think it's because I'm an executive outside and I come home and you don't even want me to even make a contribution. And I know that I'm more than that. So of course, naturally there'll be a clash. So men should respect their women and see them as human beings first, then women and wives second. And women should see their husbands too as human beings first, and men, and then as husbands, you know, and decide, respect each other in your roles.
I'm putting this to mind anyway. It seems that a woman really cannot achieve a lot without the support of a man, kind of, especially married women. So what would you say to parents, not just the mother or the father now, but parents really, because it is, you said earlier, it is who you raised that the children become in the future, whether the male child or the female child. So if they are trained from very tender ages that treat women right, respect men, do you think that it will be better and then both could be partners really in progress? Absolutely.
In fact, there have been experiments in East Africa. I believe it was Kenya, where they had a training program for young boys, teenage boys, about the role of girls, what girls are like, how to respect girls, the role of women, and so on. And the boys were like, oh, okay. And that was it. So because of that, incidences of rape, incidences of violence, there was no battle to fight. Once they had been informed, they weren't even educated, they were just informed that, oh, this is how it's supposed to be. So a lot of things we are suffering is just as a result of ignorance. It's just as a result of ignorance. And women, we have a large role to play. Society and cultures are made up of what both men and women do. So if our culture in Nigeria right now is not supportive of women, it means that it's both men and women that are guilty. Okay? So in the home, women have a role to play. Don't expect your children to see you suffering some things in your home or behaving a certain way in your home, and then you're telling them to do it differently in their own home. They're not. They're not going to do what you tell them to do. They're going to do what they learned from seeing you. So both men and women, Nigerian men and women, we have a role to play. International Women's Day is not just for us women. It's for the men. It's for the brothers, the fathers, the husbands. Absolutely. It's for the daughters, the sisters, the aunties, the grandmothers. It's for all of us.
It's World Day. Just World Day.
Thank you.
All right. Now, on a day like this, how best do we commemorate a day like this, International Women's Day?
Well, there are a lot of seminars going on, okay, but I think the one I like best, you know, the UN has come up with Press for Change. Press for Progress. And they're asking each person to make a commitment, make a video of yourself like this, and make a commitment that for me, what I'm going to do is, as a female employer, I will not discount a candidate because she's pregnant. Because I know she can do the job and help my company. She might be out of work for 3 months, but the 9 months she is there, and it's just for 1 year, she will more than make up for her 12 months pay. And she's giving society, you know, she's playing a role in society. So I can commit as a woman to do that. And as a man, you can decide, I won't just mentor the young boys, the young men in my office. I will choose one young woman to also mentor. and I won't chase her while I'm mentoring her. Okay? So we want people to make you can make your individual commitment. That's all we want, really.
And then looking about the commitments, really, but it seems that it's more of being responsible because there is no monitoring mechanism. Being aware that you need to let this happen, you need to put it in place. So moving ahead, what should be the focus? Because you can make policies, you can decide you do this, but then you know that they're happening sometimes way beyond you. You might not be able to get it right, maybe at the initial stage. So what should be the focus moving on as a country, Nigeria, not just on the part of the government, but just saying it alone? What really should be the key focus that could drive this and make it more effective to ensure gender parity?
Yeah, I think the first thing is an information campaign so that everybody understands that this focus on women is not a focus away from men. It's a focus for all of us. When you focus on women, you are focusing on everybody.
Focus on women for men.
For men, yeah, yeah. Focus on women for men, really. That it's self-interest, enlightened self-interest for men to focus on women. And then the second thing is, please enact our laws. So the Child Rights Act. You know, I told you any child that marries under 15. is 90% of them are illiterate. Please, we have Child Rights Act enacted federal. We need every single state to enact it. And then we'd like to ask all the men and all the state houses of assembly, that gender and equal opportunity bill is not a threat. We're not saying women are the same as men. We're saying women are human beings just like men. They have a right to equal opportunity. They have a right to equal rights.
Well, it was because of that bill
that we are the same.
Said what he said.
Yeah, you know, so that's all. So I think those are the two main things I think that would have a tremendous effect on our country.
All right, we have women journalists, women lawyers, women NGOs, their bodies, the National Council on Women's Society. There are so many of these bodies that are meant to assist women, assist girls, and all of that. When it comes to taking up the challenges that women face, are all these bodies really handling things the way they're supposed to be when it comes to, we know that there are so many women that are abused, that have issues that should be handled in court, and we expect that the women lawyers should have handled things like that even pro bono. There are issues of, okay, illiteracy amongst women is quite higher if you put them side by side to the men. Coming up with programs that would enlighten women and enlighten the girl child. Women journalists are there and so on. Do you think all of these bodies are doing enough to, you know, take it from the inside of the women?
I think they're doing what they should be doing.
Okay.
But most of them are doing it in cities. And they're not doing it in all 36 states of Nigeria. And they're not doing it in the towns. And they're not doing it in the villages. So how many girls and women are they reaching? It's only government that can reach everybody. They are doing the right thing, but the scope and the impact is limited to little spheres. And you'll know that now in Lagos, for example, when I first started work, there was, I think, one shelter that a woman could go to if she was battered or sexually abused. Now there are so many shelters. There are helplines for women, for children. There are counselors. There are most change psychologists. So we're seeing things moving in the right direction. Is the scope and the scale big enough? I don't think so. All
right, Habiba Balogun, social commentator, thank you very much for coming on to the show. Of course, happy International Women's Day.
Thank you so much for coming. Thank you.